Welcome back to ShopDog-Garage. We've made a bracket. It's been painted. It's drying. It'll take some time. But that's okay. I don't need it yet. Look how cool that is. There are so many angles it took to make that happen. But that means that it is time for me to collate this harness and at least get everything out and away. I don't have to terminate everything. I've just got to get everything out and away so that I can get that mounted maybe later tonight, maybe not, we'll see. And once it's out and away, then I can kind of set that in place, verify where I need wiring to go, and start looking at the things I'm concerned about. If you recall from a couple videos ago, we have a connector here that goes through, it's called the headlight harness. It goes through the firewall. Well, I also need another hole for all of the cabling on the Dakota, as well as power and a few other things coming to this fuse box. Until that's kind of mounted and I know where things fall, I'm not sure where to put that yet. So that's going to have to come soon. Probably not today, but that's not going to be the only hole in that firewall. I just don't know where the other one's going to be. And guess whose magnets showed up today? Look at that. That's so cool. You know, got a bunch of magnets. They came with some VHB circles to stick them on. Just pop them on there. And then that light kit came with some little, either you can put each one on its own switch. It had some where you can put two of them together directly, and there were also some little cables I may have used. Okay, here's one where you have a little gap, and I've got that at each of the things. I don't think I need one on the very end. This is a lot of light. That makes a giant difference. ShopDog approves. Okay, I'm making some progress. All we're doing right now is we know where some of this stuff has to go. You know, we know that that's all bundled together. So why not stub that out? Everything I can stub out, one, protects it, segregates it. Two, helps me get this sorted. So remember, I've thinned this down a few times. I've restacked it a few times, but we're getting really close. One of the other things is, of course, this is, originally there was 6 signals on here, but we're not using most of them. So I'm going to bring the fuel pump trigger in, because this is the MSD box. This is the trigger for the sniper system. This is the coil feedback from the sniper system. Well, I'm going to take the relay trigger, which is a ground, and we're going to bring that over to this little harness here, because if you recall, we plan to use the fuel pump fuse right here, and we have this, it's called Speedo Power, but it's also a fused ignition. So between those two, there's half my fuel pump relay. We can go ahead and bring that signal in to trigger it, and then we just need a heavy wire to go to the rear of the vehicle, which is going to probably look an awful lot like this blue wire right here. In fact, it's going to look a lot like that wire. And that will wind up in the trunk on a weather pack right here. Don't know if anyone remembers. This was quite a while ago. Here, let me turn that on. But you can see we've got fuel pump here, sender here. So, and don't forget we got that washer thing. I don't have a wire for that yet, but we'll get that. It'll work out. But the more I can segregate this out, the easier it's going to be to get this in. Also, you know, the easier it is to just route everything and to make sure you don't miss anything. Now, this, of course, is our ignition switch. Very simple, you know, accessory, starter solenoid, ignition, and, you know, battery in. This, in conjunction with that, is basically your engine harness. So here is our battery in, and this is the solenoid out. I doubt that these are the connectors I'm using. I'm just bundling like with like. So you can see There is no clutch anticipate switch in this 1955, so make sure you push the clutch. Make sure you're in neutral before you turn the key. Sorry there's been no updates here. Kind of got lost in it. It's been a few hours. We're slowly getting this harness moved over. So here's a couple grounds I need. One's for the radio, one is for the Dakota. This is our radio harness. I will terminate that in car. This is a clock feed over to the clock from the Dakota. And this is our glove box light. Gotta terminate that once I know its length. What we have done is move the fuel pump relay under the dash. This is that big long wire that's going to go to the back or as far as it can and then get a connector. So this is all ready. On talking about that, we have, at least for now, this connector. Might move it to a 5-pin. This has the blower motor output, and that'll go to that wire there. This is the fuel pump trigger from the Sniper. This is the coil output from the Sniper. This is the ignition feed to the MSD box. And that is the switched ignition for the Sniper. This is our rear body harness. It has everything except the fuel pump. It does have rear brake light. It turns out, and I'm glad I went through paperwork, we do have a high center mounted brake light. It's right here. And here's its little wires. So when I'm working back here, I'm going to have to figure out how to get that up there. Hopefully I can kind of fish it in the skin and kind of come out near one of the hinges and come down and around. I'll have to really kind of look at that, but I don't have to worry about that right now. That's a ways down the road. So we have that. Now I don't know that these are the connectors we're going to wind up using, if I can find them. Okay, right here. So on the column harness, so here's our steering column connect. Here are the connectors that came for the brake switch. Look how deep that is. If we wind up changing to a newer style GM switch, it's easy. Just pop those off, slide them into the new connector. Same terminals, so it doesn't matter. Horn relay goes under dash. This is the feed for our wiper system, so we'll deal with that. This is a fused position. It's labeled cruise that isn't being used currently. Just want it under the dash as a spare. Always nice to have a switched ignition that has a fuse. Okay, what do we have here? Talking about switched ignitions. Here is a switched ignition. This one has no fuse. This is off of the main harness. And Cigarette Plus. These two are heading down to the console. You know, these are for future expansion. This is the actual cigarette harness, and it's got a piece of tape on it. So that's for the cigarette lighter, and that's always on. You know, that's a battery connection. This is a courtesy ground. This will be the one on the driver's side. The one for the passenger side is a little long, but that's okay, because what I intend to do is somewhere in here probably break it, re-terminate it, and, you know, put something like this in here. Yep, here's one, so that I can get courtesy down to the rear footwells. I'd like to light up from the sides of the console if that works out. If not, at least I'll have that down there. So anyway, so that's that, and you know, that long one there. These are all the signals for the Dakota. Actually, there's even more here than I need for the Dakota, but that's everything. And there'll be a short little harness that interfaces here to do everything except for the sensors for the Dakota. You know, and those have their own cables. So we've covered all that. This is that battery feed in, starter feed out. I seriously doubt this is the connector I'm going to use. That's why I didn't leave the solenoid terminated. But you'll note it's roughly the same length as that, because both of those have to go through the firewall. This, reverse lights, I haven't decided if that'll come in above the transmission or through the firewall. Left it nice and long. Obviously, ignition switch, headlight switch. This is called the headlight harness, and we'll put a dummy in there or something in there to kind of help with that. This is that one that goes to that grommet. This probably won't reach that grommet. If it doesn't, well, that's going to help us dictate where our new hole will be. We will see. These are the feed and return from the heater, resistor, and switch. Believe it or not, the factory one didn't even have these sleeves on it. I didn't like that. I don't want to short anything out. This is the dash light for the heater controller. We already discussed that. Okay, coming around to this side. This probably doesn't reach. That's fine. If we have to extend this harness, we'll deal with that in the car. No big deal. We've talked about the wiper feed. We've talked about the extended battery. This is literally our entire fuse box. The important thing is, suddenly, all of this very comfortably sits under, with the plate flat, and I can direct things to areas I need them to be. So, this is the bulk of our main harness here. A lot to work out yet, but that's the main harness. I'm going to let that dry another day, so tomorrow I'll get that installed. We'll get this guy installed and go from there. It's going to be interesting. I hope it doesn't come out 2 or 3 times, but let's be realistic. It's going to come out a couple times. I just know better. It's not very fun to put in. It's not very fun at all. So, time for a cold snack and some more planning, but that really solves a lot of what I've been working with here. Obviously, there's still wiring hanging down. There's still things I've got to sort out. But this car is so much simpler than some of the other cars, hint, hint, Pontiac, that we've worked on lately, that I don't think there's any more super scary wiring issues outside of drilling holes and getting signals in and out. It's actually, it's probably not a bummer that the alternator's on this side. I'll have to look. Maybe, don't forget the batteries here. Maybe we can get over here somewhere. Haven't figured out how we're getting into the cab yet. Drilling, oh, God, that's terrifying. I don't want to do it. Have to do it. So, I'll be right back. Okay. We have the plate mounted the way I think this is going to be, so that I can kind of look and make sure everything's going to work. So I have a feeling this is going to wind up above the glove box, the fuel pump relay. This, of course, is, that'll go to the fuel pump. This goes to the dimmer. I seriously doubt it reaches. We can deal with that in the car. Everything else came up this way. So remember, we made, actually, I'm not sure exactly where this one's going to go. Remember, we made that arc so that this could come up and around. Now, I am going to put some split on there of some sort, but you can see that's going to work out really, really well. That'll be nice and safe. Won't be any problems. And you can see nothing's compacted. There's no big stress or anything. I did have to trim a few things. I even had to come back and trim that down a little bit so that when you flip the heater controls, it can't possibly touch. But yeah, so this looks really, really good. We won't need this ignition, those are just feeds, you buy those weird little connectors. We're not using the power windows fuse. It's not hooked up, which is good because those will be hard to get at. Everything else, not too bad to get at. I'm very, very happy. And I think, considering how late it is, I'm going to wrap this up. So, thanks for watching. This has been a long journey to get to step 1 on wiring this car. The first thing we thought we were going to do that we honestly didn't think would be that hard. The other thing I'm sure everybody's wondering is, how is that going to reach the firewall? Don't know. We'll be finding that out as we go. This has some twists that's going to have to get put into it. That'll happen over time. You've seen me make these octopuses before. If you've watched any of my other videos, they'll get routed. The cigarette lighter's literally right here. That'll just right there. That'll go down. I haven't figured out how I'm feeding down to the center console yet. A couple things I want to take down there, including a dimmer. So, you know, this is the one for the heater, but on the radio harness, wherever it went, right here, we will pass one of those down. We'll pass a copy of that down just to act as a dimmer in case we ever decide to put one in around, I don't know, around the shifter if we make a plate or something. It's good. It's a good signal to have. So anyway, that's going to be it for tonight. Got a lot done. Very, very tired. Pretty happy that this is going to fit. So, all right. Thanks for watching.